What's up? Happy Wednesday. It is another live day with me, Josh, and I will be your host, your connoisseur, your maestro of all things. Today we're going to go over something really fun. I am a big proponent of this, and I think it's going to be really cool. But first, if you are catching me live, definitely drop that down below. If you're catching on the replay, drop that down below too. And if you just want to put something funny in, I don't care. I mean, do what you want to do. But I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're supporting me on my journey. I am very thankful and grateful of that. And I am excited about this topic tonight because I think that it's going to be very, very useful. And I just realized that my ticker didn't save. That's awesome. Look at that. I love it. Don't you love live? There we go. Relationships sell. That's the topic for tonight. And we're going to get right into that because I've got other stuff I want to take care of tonight. And so I'm going to keep this one short and sweet for you. I'm actually going to see how this goes. I'm going to try to not be too long-winded, but I'm going to try to keep it short and make it a little bit more consumable for you guys out there. But so relationships, right? Like everybody says, oh, I know what you mean. I mean, relationships sell. Yeah, you know. But let me dive in a little bit on this for you because I was having a conversation with a couple friends of mine, and I realized something that was really important to me. And I've talked about relationships before. I've talked about making connections, things like that. But one of the things I haven't really talked about is what's different between the actual, like, the portion of selling while you're building relationships. And a lot of people, they get confused, right? They say, well, I need to build my business, so I'm going to prospect people. And other people are like, well, I don't like being a salesperson, so I'm just going to build relationships. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can do both. And it's actually quite easy to do both. And when we get to the end, you'll understand why. So one of the biggest things, and we're going to go over a few tips, and I might have a little bonus at the end if there's time, but one of the things that you want to do when you're talking with people is you don't want to be a robot, right? You don't want to be just, Jacko Tradebot, over there, be like, hey, come do my thing. You don't want to be trying to get people just into whatever you're doing. And yes, it is important to have those sales conversations, but you got to be authentic. So the first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is be authentically interested in the other person, right? And keep in mind, these tips are how to sell while building relationships. It's not one or the other. I'm literally teaching you how to do this. So be authentically interested in the other person. What does that mean? Well, no one wants a fake. No one wants you to go through. And yes, there is truth to doing the form method, right? If you don't know what the form method is, that's family, occupation, recreation, message, right? Or whatever people call the last one. I always call it message because you're dropping the message with the person, asking them for the sale, which we'll talk about that later. But that's fine and dandy, but you don't want to be fake about it. You don't want to do it just as a transactional piece, right? You don't want to just get in there and be like, oh, well, I'm going to do the form method because I just need to get, check off those boxes. No, actually, just like James said right there, building relationships is part of the process. It helps identify whether you can provide a service. Yes, absolutely, James. I mean, spot on, right? Exactly to the points. And that actually goes into my second point, which we will talk about. But no one wants you to go in there and just be like, oh, well, I'm going to talk about your family. I'm going to talk about what you do. And then, hey, by the way, check out this really cool group that I got. Or, hey, by the way, I've got this really cool program that's going to make you a lot of money. If you don't know if that person really wants that thing, you're just going to rub them the wrong way. And I, for one, have no problem telling somebody when they cross that line, right? I do it all the time. Actually, I had somebody block me yesterday because I flat out was like, you're not even going to try to get to know me. You're just going to pitch me with your thing right away. I was like, I don't want to waste my time. But the part of that is people love to talk about themselves, right? And I will say that I'm a talker. Shocker, right? Oh, Josh knows how to talk. Woo! But I've learned over time that I have to shut my mouth. and let the other person speak. I have to be quiet and let the other person talk about themselves a little bit, because when you get somebody on a roll talking about themselves, they're going to open up. They're going to tell you exactly what it is that they're dealing with. They're going to give you every bit of information you've ever wanted, because they absolutely enjoy that fact. The whole thing of like, getting in there and being able to tell someone about your dreams, your goals. James, it drives me crazy. Hi, buy my stuff. Like, James, remind me later. I've got a picture to share. I might actually put it down below here when we're all done, if it'll let me do that. But yeah, I mean, people love to talk about themselves, but ask great questions, because if they're not talking about themselves naturally, start asking them questions that people don't ask, right? Be like, hey, what's your favorite thing to eat? What do you like to do in your free time? Or what's your most memorable moment in the last year? That's one of my favorite ones, actually. I've started using that a lot more, is tell me about your most memorable moment in the last year. It throws so many people off. I love it. It's because, I mean, it's a game, right? You're playing that game of business. You're playing that who's going to have the better offer, who's going to have the better conversation. But in reality, you're just getting to know each other. You're getting to figure out how you can help each other. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But you'd be amazed at the amount of people that show up and be like, oh man, let me tell you about this trip to the Grand Canyon, or let me tell you about this, time I went across the world, or let me tell you about this time I went to Tahiti with my wife, or whatever the case may be. You ask them about their most memorable moment in the last year, and they will spill their guts to you. And if they don't, they're there to sell you. Okay, right? Think about that. If they are not willing to talk about whatever it is that you're asking them about, they don't care about whatever it is that you want. They're automatically there to sell you, because in no way would someone refuse to build a relationship unless they were there for one reason and one reason only: to sell you their thing, or to get you in their group, or to, give you their free ebook, or whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind, right? Like, you want to not be fake. You want to be authentic. People love to talk about themselves, so ask them questions. Okay. Second thing, this kind of goes right along with what James was talking about earlier, right? Is find out what the other person is struggling with and how you can solve a problem for them. James had said earlier here, it helps identify whether you can provide a service. That's entirely true. And that's exactly what you want to be doing. You don't want to be sitting there just having a good old conversation. Like, it's great, right? Be friends, but actually listen and figure out where you can solve a problem, where you can provide a service. As entrepreneurs, it's our job to find solutions for people's problems. And sometimes that solution is as easy as offering an affiliate offer that gives someone an extra stream of income. Or maybe it's showing them a different way to think about their money. Or maybe it's giving them a product that improves their health. Whatever the case may be, as an entrepreneur, that's our job. That's exactly what we are designed to do. And so the big thing that we have to think about is, like, while we have a lot of things that we're working on, or maybe there's one main thing we're working on, does that thing solve their problem? If not, then start thinking about where you can point them in the right direction, right? Like, I guarantee you, anybody watching this video has connections. We're all a community. We're all a group of people on our way to the same goal, right? And some of us are there. Some of us already have freedom. Some of us already have the life that we've wanted, but there's other people out there that don't have that. And that's okay. We're all from different walks of life, but we know somebody that can probably solve that problem. So why wouldn't we refer that person to somebody else, right? If somebody came to me and said, hey, I want to know how I can create my own course. I have never created a course in my life. I've used courses. I've offered courses that I've affiliate for. I've did some training videos, but I've never actually put a course together. Am I going to sit there and try to figure out how to build that course for that one person? No. Maybe down the road, I might try to figure that out. But I know somebody else that I can go to. I know somebody else that I can say, hey, you know what? There's this guy over here. He's amazing at course creating. He can tell you everything you know about it. Is it okay if I get you connected with him? Now, listen, that phrase right there. Is it okay? Please don't forget that. Please, please, please. I've had this too many times where I get messaged by some random person and they're like, hey, so-and-so gave me your information. Immediate block. Like both those people, gone. Do not abuse the power of knowing what you think you can solve for me and then giving my information to somebody else without my consent. So always ask for consent. Is it okay if I give your information to this other person that can help you out? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no, or they're going to say yes, right? Like, is it okay? Yes, absolutely. Yes, James, awesome, dude. That's awesome. Did this yesterday. The person I sent them to was so grateful. And see, I'd be grateful for anybody to send somebody my way. Even if I can't help that person, I'm still going to be grateful because maybe I can just continue that chain and move them on, right? I'd rather do that than just cut it off right there. So please, if you don't have the answer, point them in the right direction. Don't just ghost the person. Don't just fall off the face of the earth. Just ask them. Be like, hey, I know this person over here that might be able to help you. Is it okay if I send you there? So third point here is don't be afraid to ask for the sale, but also don't get offended when they say no. We have to disconnect emotionally from the end result. Too many times we get connected with the end result. We get connected with all these things that people are like, oh, well, this person was such a great friendship and a great relationship. And then they just up and left. It happens. I've had people in my life for months that just, it fell out, right? I've had people in my life for years. Okay, quick story, right? So asking for the sale and then being told no, and then it just falling apart. So I had a good friend of mine that I've known for many, many years. I worked with him when I worked for a cable company back over a decade ago. Man, that makes me feel old. I'm not that old either. But anyways, so we met and he was interested in what I was doing. He asked to meet, right? And we went through and we sat down, had a cup of coffee, talked about business. I told him what I was working on. He was like, wow, that sounds amazing. And everything was going fine. I invited him to a meeting. And for those of you out there, you probably know where this is going, but I invited him to a meeting with a couple mentors of mine. We sat down, we talked. It was great. Everything was fine. And he heard the name of the company. And immediately his whole posture changed. That meeting turned him away. And this is a guy that I used to talk to very often. And that meeting turned him away. And James, sorry, 29 and olding. I got you. He stopped talking to me. He stopped answering my calls, stopped answering my texts. And I wasn't relentless, right? But I asked for the sale and he said no. And he took offense to it because he thought I was trying to steer him the wrong way. I was at that time emotionally connected to the end result, but not because I wanted him to be part of my team, but because I thought as a friend that he would understand if he told me no, that it wouldn't ruin our relationship. I didn't, it wasn't me that ruined it. He stopped answering my calls and taking my texts, but that's the thing, right? Is it happens. So don't be afraid of the result and don't be emotionally connected to the end result and just ask for the sale. At some point, you're going to have to ask, but don't ask too soon. Don't just pop out with it and be like, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. Oh, that's good. Hey, do you want to buy my thing? Like, that's dumb. Don't do that. Build the relationship. The relationship will sell for you because if that person aligns with you, if that person feels good about being with you and being part of your journey, they will automatically join whatever it is that you have. Because they're going to realize that being on a journey with you is a heck of a lot better than being on a journey by themselves and just going right alongside you. Even like, imagine you going at the same pace with somebody else and realizing years later that you could have just partnered up and made it so much bigger. But instead, you just kind of went parallel like this, doing the same thing with the same products, with the same offers, and you just never connected. And here's the thing. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but it's just, you can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid of letting someone get into something else because you weren't afraid to ask for the sale. Like I personally have had that happen way too many times, and I'm trying really hard to not let it happen anymore, but it happens a lot. So, quick little recap. Number one, for those of you that are just tuning in, number one, be authentically interested in the other person, right? Don't be fake. Ask questions, get the person talking about themselves, but ask real questions, right? Don't just go, what do you do? Sure, that's a question we're going to ask at some point in time. But if you did a little sleuthing on their profile, you could probably figure out what they do. It doesn't take long, 5 minutes tops. So ask better questions. What do you like to do with your free time? What's your favorite thing to eat? What's your most memorable moment in the last year? Find out what they're struggling with. See if you can help them out. And if you can't, see if there's somebody else that can. And don't be afraid to ask for the sale, even if the answer is no. And if you hear no, don't shut down and stop asking, right? Just move on. Get to the next sale. Get to the next person. But don't completely write people off, right? I mean, you just got to move forward. And sometimes it's going to happen. Some people you just aren't going to vibe well with. So, I mean, that's really where it comes down to. But I do have one more thing I wanted to go through, and I wasn't sure how fast I'd get through this. And since I've got time, I'm going to go through it. So this is a topic that I like, and I thought about doing something independent on this one, but I'm just going to add it in here, a little bonus point. So we've got to learn to not just get people from the outside in and help them and bring them into the situation and our journey and whatever. We also want to nurture the people that are there with us. We want to take people who are actually enjoying our company, right? They're part of our team, or they're part of our friend group, or whatever the case may be. And you want to nurture those relationships that you already have. Don't let them go stale, right? I don't really have a good time frame of how often to reach out to people. Some people don't care if they go months in between. Some people get mad if you go a week or more in between. So you just got to really meet those people where they're at. But nurture those relationships, because here's what happens, right? Is if they're already part of your journey in some way, and you're nurturing that relationship, you're talking, you're building that bond, right? You're talking about things that happen during your day. It's not all transactional. You're being friendly. Over time, you might have the opportunity to ask them to do what you're doing if you're not doing the same thing. And sometimes they'll add it on, or they'll just switch what they're doing, whatever. That relationship you built with them will likely make them feel more comfortable to do whatever it is that you're asking them to do. And it may feel a little dirty at first, especially the first time you do it, but you've got to don't like be a snake or anything and just go to all your friends and be like, hey, we've been friends for a while, you should join my thing. But be strategic about it. Maybe there's somebody that you talk about something all the time and they're like, oh man, that sounds awesome. Like, I've read about it, whatever. Start gauging interest and maybe just ask them like, hey, would you want to get in on what I'm doing? The worst they're going to say is no. The worst they're going to do is tell you that they don't want to do that thing. But in reality, if you've built that relationship and you've continued to build that bond, you've continued to nurture it, you've continued to make it stronger, you have a good chance that that person may want to go on that journey with you. And so give them that chance. And if they tell you no, that's okay. Just don't ruin the relationship because they tell you no. Just be like, all right, cool. I was just curious, but that's a bonus here. And it's just because so many people forget that fact, right? Someone like their friend tells them, oh, let's take, for example, affiliate marketing offers or some other ones, some out there that are very similar. Someone says, oh, I'm doing this high ticket thing. And you're like, well, hey, I got this high ticket thing over here that's got this cool thing and I'm part of this group. And they go, oh yeah, okay, cool. That's awesome. And you just check out and then you're just like, oh, well, they weren't interested. They didn't tell me they're interested. Well, you didn't ask. You didn't ask them, hey, are you interested? Do you want to learn more about it? And so you immediately assume that they're not interested and you just check out completely and you never ask them. And then down the road, you find out they signed up with somebody else in the same freaking thing. And it's only because what you did is you sat back and went, oh, they're already in that other high ticket one. It's fine. I'm not going to ask them about it. But if you would have asked, they probably would have done it. So that's my bonus point for the day. Don't be afraid to nurture those relationships you already have. And if you haven't already, like, go talk to those people. Go scroll through your messenger and find those people you haven't talked to in months. Light those conversations back up. You never know who's waiting around the corner waiting for you to say something. So that's all I've got for tonight. I appreciate you being here with me. I appreciate all of your support. I love all of you. And James, absolutely. I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for always being here and supporting my journey. And we will see you all next week and in the feeds. Have a great night.